Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're journeying into a concept that's really more than just simple observation. It's this idea of seeing and hearing truth. And we're not just talking about, physical senses. This goes deeper into spiritual perception, how real understanding is actually given and received.
That's right. And to explore this, we're looking at insights from divine illumination, seeing and hearing God's truth, and also Sinai revelation and parables of the kingdom. Both offer some fascinating angles on what it really means to perceive something truly.
Okay, so our mission then for this deep dive.
Well, I think it's to unpack what it means to truly perceive. Why do some people seem to get it while others, they just don't, even when it's right there? And what does that mean for, anyone seeking deeper knowledge, whether it's through these huge dramatic historical moments or maybe the quieter insights in our own lives?
Okay, let's dive in. We can start with that fundamental human desire, right?
Right.
The urge to grasp something more, something beyond the surface level. Our first source, divine illumination, actually kicks off with this really beautiful plea from Psalm 119.8, and he says, "Open my eyes that I may behold wondrous things out of your law." It feels like such a direct ask, doesn't it? Like, help me see beyond just the words. What's the significance of it being framed as a prayer?
That's a really key point. What divine illumination explores, and what's quite profound, is this idea that spiritual understanding isn't just something you achieve through, say, sheer intellect. It's presented more as a gift, something granted, which, kind of challenges how we usually think about learning.
Right, like it's not just about putting in the hours study.
Exactly. It suggests there's this crucial element of receptivity, maybe even grace involved. True insight isn't always about more effort, but maybe a different kind of posture, an openness.
And that idea of receptivity really jumps out when the text makes that contrast. Lots of people hear, but they don't listen. They see, but they don't perceive. And the source says it's because their hearts are closed. So if this insight is a gift, does it say anything about how hearts get closed? Or maybe how they get opened?
It does, yeah. And it raises a big question for all of us, really. What kind of attitude, what posture do we need for genuine understanding? Not just spiritually, but, in anything we want to learn deeply. The text is pretty clear. This gift tends to be revealed to those who are earnestly seeking it, who approach it with humility, who are faithful, and who really hunger for truth. It implies this active internal readiness. It's more than just being curious, it's being ready to receive. And that, in turn, seems to foster this deep gratitude for what you do understand.
That makes sense, that feeling of gratitude. Like you shouldn't take the ability to really see and hear for granted. It's precious. Okay, so that's the personal internal quest. Now let's shift gears a bit. Let's look at a massive historical example of truth being revealed. Undeniably, the event at Mount Sinai is such a huge contrast, going from quiet prayer to, this.
Definitely. Our second source, Sinai revelation and parables of the kingdom, really paints the picture. It's the third month after the Exodus. The Israelites are there in the desert, camped right in front of the mountain.
So the stage is set.
And the preparation God describes is just immense. He tells Moses, "I'm coming to you in a dense cloud." Why? So that when the people hear me speaking with you, they may always have faith in you also. And the people themselves, they're told, "Sanctify yourselves, wash your clothes, be ready for the third day." Because on that day, the Lord would come down on Mount Sinai before the eyes of all the people. This wasn't meant to be subtle. It was a public, undeniable event.
Can you even imagine being there? That third morning arrives. Peals of thunder, lightning as this heavy cloud covering the mountain, and then a trumpet blast so loud it makes the entire camp tremble. That's not quiet insight, that's
Overwhelming.
overwhelming is a good word. The source describes Moses leading the people out to the foot of the mountain, and Sinai itself is wrapped in smoke because the Lord descended on it in fire. Smoke billowing like a furnace, the whole mountain shaking violently, and that trumpet blast just gets louder and louder.
Wow.
Yeah. Moses speaks, God answers him with thunder, until finally, God summons Moses to the very top. What's fascinating here is the sheer power, yes, but also the deliberation, the preparation involved. It's God making himself known, absolutely, but under specific conditions and using an intermediary like Moses. It wasn't just a random blast. So we've gone from the personal plea for insight to this grand, public, almost terrifying revelation. Okay, now let's pivot again to something maybe more subtle, but just as profound in its own way. Jesus' use of parables. This shifts the focus again, right? From a huge spectacle to stories And it brings back that question of who perceives and who doesn't.
Exactly. And the disciples were confused too. They come right out and ask him, why do you speak to the crowd in parables? It's a fair question.
So what was his answer?
Well, his explanation, which we find in Matthew 13, brings us right back to that earlier theme. He tells them essentially, because knowledge of the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven has been granted to you, but to them it has not been granted. Which immediately raises that question again. Why the difference? What makes one group receptive and another not? It echoes that idea of understanding as a gift.
And then he gives that really intriguing principle. To anyone who has, more will be given. But from anyone who has not, even what he has will be taken away.
That's a line that sticks with you. It almost sounds like receptivity breeds more receptivity. I think that's a good way to put it. He then clarifies why he uses parables for the crowd. They look, but do not see, and hear, but do not listen or understand. So the issue isn't the lack of information. It's not that they can't physically hear him. It's a deeper inability or maybe unwillingness to perceive, to engage. It's about openness, not volume.
And he connects this directly to Isaiah's prophecy, doesn't he? He quotes it saying, "You shall indeed hear, but not understand. Look, but never see. Gross is the heart of this people. They will hardly hear with their ears. They have closed their eyes." It's that closed eyes, closed heart idea again.
Exactly. That passage is crucial because it pinpoints the problem. It's not the message, it's the state of the recipient's heart, a closed heart. An act of resistance, maybe. It suggests that sometimes, maybe unconsciously, people resist understanding because they don't want to be changed by what they might see or hear.
Which makes the contrast with the disciples even sharper. He tells them, "But blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear."
And the significance of that blessing is huge, especially when he adds that many prophets and righteous people long to see what you see but did not see it, and to hear what you hear but did not hear it. It really underscores that their perception was this unique gift. Not necessarily because they were smarter, but because they were open, ready to receive.
It reminds me of that Alleluia verse, "Blessed are you, Father. You have revealed to little ones the mysteries of the kingdom." The little ones being the receptive ones, maybe.
Perhaps. The humble, the open.
Okay, so pulling all this together, we have the personal prayer for insight, the overwhelming public revelation at Sinai, and then Jesus's parables focusing on the state of the heart. Across all these examples, there seems to be a really consistent message emerging about what it actually means to see and hear truth.
I think so. If you synthesize it, the core idea seems to be that understanding profound truth is consistently shown as both a divine gift, a revelation, but also something that absolutely requires a certain disposition from us, a seeking heart, humility, an active willingness to receive. It's not just about what's presented, but crucially, how ready we are for it.
Right. It keeps coming back to that difference between just physical seeing and hearing versus true understanding, which seems to flow from a receptive heart.
Exactly. And that connects nicely to the praise in that responsorial psalm from Daniel you mentioned earlier, glory and praise forever. Celebrating God who looks into the depths and reveals things. It points to the divine source, but also implies we need some internal depth to grasp what's being revealed from that source.
So for you listening, what does it mean to actually cultivate that kind of open heart, not just in spiritual seeking, but in any kind of learning or understanding you're pursuing today? How do we foster that receptivity?
Yeah, and maybe building on that, considering how much emphasis is placed on a closed heart getting in the way, what specific lenses, assumptions, maybe even emotional blocks might you be holding on to right now, what might be unintentionally preventing you from truly perceiving new insights, even when the information, the source, is right there in front of you. Something to think about.